Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. We're your hosts, Calvin Timms and Dale Terry. You can hit us up on Twitter at TDC_Calvin or Dale at Dynasty_Dale. And we're back with the last episode of the AFC North, recapping the entire 2023 offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, if this is your first episode, we're going to be dropping every single NFL team, all 32 of them, all month long. So make sure you go check out the other teams as well. If you're a Steelers fan, welcome in. We're going to be talking about all the players, all the coaches that change for the team, and giving our thoughts for Dynasty and kind of 2023 redraft as well at the end of the video. So yeah, it's exciting if you can while you're here. If you're watching on Spotify, Apple, Google, that's where the podcast is available. We're putting the video out there for the Spotify, so you can find it on Spotify or on YouTube. But if you can, subscribe to the channel while you're over there. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff just to help with the algorithm. Gets us out there to more people, and we're just trying to grow the podcast and put out more content like this for you guys. Dale, how we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I am excited to talk about the Steel City here and to really rag on them because they've been pretty good my entire lifetime. So I'm excited to give them some crap. So
It's what happens when you don't have a Hall of Famer. Just look at the
that that
Patriots, right?
that that is true.
Opens the
Very
door
true.
for criticism, right? So,
It
um,
does.
if this is your first episode, we are going to be going through the coaching changes first, then the free agents that they added, free agents that they lost, going through the draft, giving some of our thoughts on the draft, and then talking about the dynasty impacts of all the offensive skill players at the end of the video. So make sure you stick around for that as well. Now, coaching changes is pretty easy for this team. They didn't make any. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. That means they do have Matt Canada back. I personally think that's a bad thing. I don't like Matt Canada, but
Agreed.
yeah, it's kind of rough. So, and quickly, I told Dale I was gonna do a rant on this, but dude, I'm so sick of people just attributing everything to the players when. Dude, how many bad OCs have there been the last couple of years? And we're like, oh yeah, it
Quite a few.
wasn't actually the players, it was the OC, but we're still gonna blame the
Yeah.
player. It's like, what are you doing, man? Matt Canada is a bad OC, and now this entire season is gonna be completely marred because they have Matt Canada calling plays and he sucks at it. So all the players are probably gonna be bad, except for a couple of them we'll talk about here in a little bit. And we're gonna say, oh, these players are just bad, and it's like, the offense stinks. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? So, I don't know. I'm just annoyed.
No, I get that, and I'm sad that they kept Matt Canada because because it was the offense last year was not good, and it didn't help that Kenny Pickett wasn't very good either. But I know we'll get into that later.
Mm-hmm.
But it was offense as a whole was really bad, and I would think that one of the things you would change, and with Mike Tomlin being the Hall of Fame head coach that he
I
is,
know,
he
man.
he would have made some change. Some change.
He'll make a change after they don't have a winning record this year. That's for
That
sure.
is very true. That
Because
is
they're
very
not.
true.
Let me spoil that for you right now. They're not going to have a winning record this year. So, all right, we'll talk about some players that they added, some players that they re-signed quickly here. So they brought in Patrick Peterson, 33-year-old Patrick Peterson, cornerback.
Mhm.
Re-signed James Pierre, cornerback there. Brought in Chandon Sullivan from Minnesota, bringing over all of Minnesota's pass defenders as their cornerback core. Larry Ogunjobi, they re-signed him, defensive end. Defensive tackle Armand Watts, Braden Feheko. Brought in a couple guards, Isaac Samalu. Dude,
Yeah.
these names are killing me tonight. It is rough. It's getting pretty late. We're spoiler alert, we're mass recording these because we're just trying to get them out there to you guys. And yeah, a lot of names that have been rough tonight. So it's just going to keep going as we keep going here. Nate Herbig, another guard that they brought in. Nick Kowatskowski, I don't even know, interior linebacker. Cole Holcomb, I can do that one, linebacker there. Landon Roberts, another linebacker. Marcus Golden, they brought him in. Tanner Muse. They're really trying to beef up this defense is what I'm really taking away from this. They re-signed Mason Rudolph, their backup quarterback. Brought in, LaRaven Clark, right tackle there. Safety, DeMonte Kazi. Keanu Neal, another safety that they brought in. Keanu Neal is actually a really good player. He's a little bit older, but good player. Zach Gentry, a tight end. I don't really understand this one, to be honest with you, with how the draft went, but we'll get to that here in a minute. And then Miles Boykin, they re-signed him to another contract. So, yeah, nothing crazy. I think the biggest thing is that they are really beefing up this defense. They're really trying to make that a lot better this upcoming season.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's because they know the offense is not where it needs to be, and that's what teams typically do. Like they either try to beef up the defense to compensate for the offense or vice versa. So, I think it was some interesting additions, but it's nothing I don't think it's anything super crazy that they did or anything earth shattering.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Good signings for the most part, though. I mean, from the players, they got pretty good value on a lot of these guys. A lot of them are 1-year contracts for the most part, too. So, just taking a stab on them if they don't pan out during training camp, then no harm, no foul. So, all right, a couple players that they lost. J.C. Hausenauer, center. Cameron Sutton, their cornerback. Big loss there, actually. I think that's a pretty major loss there. I do get that Cameron Sutton's getting older, but he was one of the stars on that defensive secondary. Linebacker Devin Bush, Trenton Scott, one of their guards. Robert Spillane, another linebacker that they lost. Malik Reed, another linebacker, so it makes sense why they're bringing so many in. Terrell Edmonds, safety. He went to Philly. That was a big signing by Philly. Steven Sims Jr., okay, who really cares there? Another couple of guys here that haven't signed with any teams yet. William Jackson, cornerback there. Carlins Palatel, Tyson Alau. These are all defensive players. Chris Wormley, Jesse Davis, another guard. Miles Jack. Good old Miles Jack. I like him. He's a good player. Tay Crowder, Jameer Jones, Amiki Igbula. A lot of linebackers that they lost that haven't re-signed. Benny Snell's no longer with the team. And
R.I.P.
Yeah, Anthony Miller, Carl Joseph. So a lot of defensive players actually have left. They replaced them all, and you can kind of see the trend there, right? It all makes sense when it's all presented as a holistic picture, right? So that's why it's beneficial to kind of recap everything. When it's doing one signing at a time, you're like, oh, why'd they do this? Oh, why'd they do that? But when you can kind of see the whole picture, that's where it really kind of helps. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, it's the Steelers. Well, like the Steelers and Ravens do really well in drafting and signing players.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it goes to the stability of their front office. And the ownership group has been there forever, and
they're
they just know what they're doing.
Yeah,
and they're good, and they know what they're doing, and they know how to evaluate the talent that is out there and to try to get the best player available.
Yep, I'm with you. That's where it really benefits to. It also helps that they do have a pretty good eye for talent. Like you can't have that history of hitting in the draft with players that the Steelers do have without, having some sort of just natural eye for it, right? So, it definitely helps there. So going into the draft in round 1, they actually jumped the New York Jets for Broderick Jones, offensive tackle. This was the funniest trade of the draft. I was loving this. It was hilarious. So they traded with the New England Patriots to go up to 14, jump one spot in front of the New York Jets, who everyone had tied to Broderick Jones the entire offseason, right? And they ended up taking the offensive tackle. Good play, very, very good by them there. They go and get Joey Porter Jr. This was from the Chase Claypool trade that they made last season in season. That's the player that they ended up getting, which was a good player. Joey Porter Sr., I guess, played for Pittsburgh back in the day. So you love to see that. It's one of those holistic, wholesome stories there. So Keanu Benton, another defensive player in the second round as well from Wisconsin. Darnell Washington, the 6th offensive lineman, tight end out of Georgia. Nick Herbig, linebacker in the 4th round from Wisconsin. And then they didn't have anything else until the 7th, where they got Corey Trice, cornerback out of Purdue, and Spencer Anderson, offensive line out of Maryland. So what are your thoughts on the draft here?
I thought it was a pretty solid draft for them. Like, it wasn't anything flashy.
Yeah,
I mean,
nothing sexy, right?
yeah, it was nothing, but I mean, it's stuff they needed. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's everything they needed. Like, they needed another offensive lineman. Actually, they got 3, I guess you could say, in the draft with Darnell Washington.
Right, right.
And then getting Joey Porter Jr., which he was mocked, as high as like it's like the mid first round.
Right.
I feel was a steal. So I think they did really well, and
I
there
agree.
was nothing. Yeah, I mean, they always do well drafting, and it's really hard to knock them on that front.
Right. And yeah, again, when you look at what their needs were and the value that they got on some of these players,
Hmm.
it was just a slam dunk there. So yeah, like
Absolutely.
you said, nothing sexy. Darnell
Mhm.
Washington is really the only skill player that they even took. So we'll talk on
Yeah.
him in just a minute. But yeah, this offensive line. So really quickly, I want to talk about their O line. They did take Broderick Jones, and historically, year one tackles, they kind of start a little slow,
Struggle. Yep.
and kind of ramp it up. A lot of people were really high on Broderick Jones, and it does help that he was from Georgia, right? So
Hmm.
he was playing against some monsters there in
He was.
Georgia. So it should maybe help with his transition time a little bit. Maybe it'll be a little bit shorter than some of the other players, but this dude is a brick house, right? So he definitely helps there. They brought in some other guys. I think that the offensive line is going to be better. I don't think it's going to be good, but I think it's going to not be bottom 5 that it's kind of been the last couple seasons. So you
Hmm.
love to see that, especially for the run game, which we'll talk about here in 1 minute. But it should help Kenny Pickett a little bit as well. Now, we can talk about the quarterback. I'm a known Kenny Pickett hater, and if you're a Steelers fan out there, sorry, man. I don't like Kenny Pickett. I just don't think he's very good. And I get it. You came from Ben Roethlisberger for years. That Kenny Pickett, you want to believe in the kid. I don't see it, man. I know a lot of people are hyping him up, but what are your thoughts on Kenny Pickett here?
Um, I would say that this quarterback room is probably one of the worst in the league.
Yeah,
That's being kind.
yeah,
I mean, they have Kenny Pickett, who is a below average starter, Mason Rudolph, who still has a dent in his head from Myles Garrett. They have Mitchell Trubisky, who was once the hope of the Bears, but is not very good. And then they have Tanner Morgan, who was like almost a 4-year starter at Minnesota, but went undrafted.
right.
So it's pretty garbage, to say the least. And with having Ben Roethlisberger for 15 plus, I think it was 17 years, they had Big Ben.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, like going from that and not being prepared, I think that was a very big disservice from them, and not seeing the writing on the wall with Big Ben, and him just getting older and flirting with retirement for I think for the final 3 to 4 years of his playing career.
Right.
So
Yeah, so here's the thing. So I don't like Kenny Pickett. I don't think he's very good.
yeah,
And
he's
here's the
not.
problem for Steelers fans. Unfortunately, he's going to be your starter this entire year. They're not going to pull him. That's not Mike
Well,
Tomlin's.
I, I, th-
No, no, Mike Tomlin
well,
will not pull him.
I think if he has a similar touchdown to interception ratio that he did,
I think Mike Tomlin will
his
still
his
play him. And
I think if he does that, Mike Tomlin probably may not have a job,
well, no, here's the
because
thing. So
yeah,
here's my
that's
prediction,
just
right? Here's
yeah.
my prediction. Because I think Mike Tomlin has enough credit in the bank at this point in time because he's
Does.
so good, right? He's a Hall of Fame coach. If he got
He
fired,
is,
any other team
absolutely.
would pick him up. Here's what's going to
Yeah.
happen. Kenny Pickett's going to be mediocre again this year. They're going to fire Matt Canada. Probably, week 7. If he starts off terribly, they're going to fire him like week 7, right? He's not going to make it through the entire season. They'll bring somebody in, it'll be interim OC, whatever. Next
Mhm.
year, they'll replace the offensive coordinator, try and get the best name possible. to salvage Kenny Pickett, right? Next year, if Kenny Pickett is still bad, right, with new offensive coordinator, they will bench him with whoever they have as their backup, and then they will go into 2025 and draft a new quarterback. So, yeah, Kenny Pickett, I think that he's got 2 years left, and then he's going to be basically, Marioted out of the league or Trubisky'd out of the league, right? I think that it's not going to impact Tomlin too much, but yeah, I'm just not that excited. So what I wanted to talk about with Kenny Pickett, everyone's talking about, you're going to see a lot of people out there talking about, the metrics. He was really, really good in these 2 metrics that are very cherry picked, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Week number 10, 18 completions, 11, 25, 20, 16. Didn't play the next 2 games. 26 completions, 15 completions, 13 completions. None of those games did he break 300 yards. Not a single one. This is a good receiving core. I know that they lost Chase Claypool, but you have Diontae Johnson. You have George Pickens. Good players. You have Pat Freiermuth. You have Najee Harris, who is a very good pass-catching weapon, as seen from his rookie year with Ben Roethlisberger, where he had, just quickly pulling it up, 94 targets and 74 catches. Najee Harris is a threat in the receiving game.
Yes,
the fact that Kenny Pickett couldn't break 300 yards with those players last year is a massive red flag. Massive. Again, I think that Matt Canada sucks, and I think that a lot of it falls on him. And maybe they replace Matt Canada, and it'll help Kenny Pickett. But for this year and for next year, I'm not that excited about Kenny Pickett. I would be trying to get out from him everywhere that I can. But that's just me. So we won't harp on him too much longer. We'll go to the running back here. We'll talk about Najee Harris. What are your thoughts on Najee? If we don't like Kenny Pickett that much, do we think that Najee can bounce back?
I think Najee's very underrated. The offensive line last year was really bad.
Agreed.
And Najee is very boomer bust.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess you could say he kind of runs like he runs kind of like how Kenneth Walker does. Like he's a very boomer bust runner.
Right.
That I don't think he's necessarily able to run away from a lot of defenders, but he does have a very specific skill set that is very good for fantasy football.
Right.
In catching the football. So, and I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's very undervalued right now,
mm-hmm.
because of the poor taste that was left in everyone's mouth from last year.
Right.
Which I understand. I get it, but also I think they're going to be a lot better on the offensive end. I think they were so bad scoring touchdowns last year that they have to regress to the mean a little bit.
Yeah, right. And he still had 7 touchdowns last year too. Only,
Right. And still, for how bad Kenny Pickett was,
right,
he's going to regress to the mean.
I agree.
He has to. So, well, he doesn't have to, but right. he doesn't have to, but he's probably going to.
Right.
So, I really feel Najee's, in line for another really good year.
Mm-hmm.
Dynasty wise, I don't know what necessarily his value is. It's really, I think it's really shrunk the past couple years, and with him being an older running back anyways,
right.
I think that set him up for failure, in my opinion.
I don't know, man. I think that the Steelers are pretty loyal to their...
and what I mean by that is that for how hyped he was,
yeah, fair.
His shelf life is shorter than somebody who was coming to the league at 21 compared
to like a Breece Hall, for example, right?
Yeah. So like his shelf life is a lot shorter anyway.
Sure. So, the biggest thing with Najee, last year in a bad offensive line, bad offensive situation, still had 1,000 rushing yards. And this is going to be the thing that you're going to hear the most. Oh, he was inefficient. You know who else? I just wanted to pull this up. Todd Gurley. You ever heard of him? Good running back, mm-hmm. right? Good running back. Yep. He only played 5 seasons until his knee completely screwed him out of the league.
Imploded. Yeah.
But, his rookie year, he only averaged 3 yards a carry. And then in the start of his record-breaking second year in 2017, right, he was averaging about 2 yards per carry, 3 yards per carry until he picked it up until, he got up to about 4.5 yards per carry,
Hmm.
4.9 in 2018. And then it kind of fell back down to 3.8 and 3.5. Najee Harris hasn't broken 4 yards per carry. Oh, he's inefficient. I think that, one, you take into account that both years, this offensive line has been horrendous, right? And two, last year he started the year with the massive foot injury, right? It's going to have an
Yeah,
impact on a guy. So I'm excited for Najee. I'm with you. I think that he's being overly depressed in value, but
he
I
is.
think he's going to bounce back pretty hard. And in terms of his long-term value, I do think that he's probably going to get another contract with Pittsburgh. That's just kind of how they are. They don't really pay. They pay the guys that they're loyal to, right? The guys that
Yeah.
show up and they do the work without being kind of divas and drama queens and all this stuff, right? And I think that's what Najee Harris is, and he's continuing to be there. Now, quickly, let's talk about Jaylen Warren. What are your thoughts on Jaylen Warren?
I think he's interesting. I think people are overvaluing Jalen Ward in
Agreed.
that in that in that historically, which thankfully the Steelers have only had three head coaches in their whole lifespan of the NFL.
Right.
So 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 thankfully, like there's a lot of data on Mike Tomlin and only having one primary running back,
Right.
and that's what it's gonna be. And
Right.
I don't care if it was Matt Canada or if it was Ken Wisenhunt or whoever was the offensive coordinator there.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one running back,
Right.
and that's
For
what
the
it's going to
most part,
be.
yeah.
And yeah, and it's not a running back by committee. Even when James Conner was there, even when I can't even think who was before James. Like
Lev
it's it,
Bell and
yeah, Lev Bell. It's not gonna change.
right.
So
Yeah, I'm with you.
as long as Harris stays healthy, I don't think Jalen Warren is a stash. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
kind of a
I don't think
handcuff guy, but
yeah. I mean, I would but I wouldn't be spending uh
I wouldn't even spend a
a
second round on him, to be honest with you.
no,
Like,
gosh no,
but
no,
that's kind
gosh
of
no.
where he's going right now. I've seen him in a few trades. People are sending like second round picks for him. And just for
That's
context,
wild.
right?
That's
Like he had
wild.
77 rush attempts for 380 yards. Very good,
Yeah.
4.9
Yeah.
yards per carry. But I mean, he had 77 rushing attempts, guys. Like he had 33
Right.
targets, 28 catches. He's a good player. He's a very efficient player, and I think that's why people like him so much more than Najee, because Najee's inefficient, right? But yeah, there's no long-term viability with him. So I'm with you there. Now let's talk about the receivers, the pass catchers for the team. Obviously, the number one guy is going to be Diontae Johnson still. I think that this year you're going to see a little bit more of George Pickens in that mix.
Mhm.
George Pickens is more of a big play type of threat than Diontae Johnson. Diontae is more of the possession type of guy. Do have to remember that they traded a 7th round pick for Allen Robinson. So he's over
Yeah.
here as well. Now, I like that. I do like that. Now, for fantasy, people are completely writing off Allen Robinson, but dude, I don't know. Just everyone is looking at the Rams like, oh, Allen Robinson's cooked. And he's not the guy that we once wanted, but are you telling me that he played 90% of snaps and didn't get any targets in that team, and that's by his fault? Like, what are we doing, man? Like, I think that
I
Allen Robinson
think
has wide receiver
I
3
think
potential.
Allen Robinson is cooked. Do not have him on your team.
Dude, he's
Don't
free.
don't
He's so free.
I don't want him on my bench. I don't even want him on my team. I think I would rather I don't know who I'd rather have, but I don't want Allen Robinson
Allen
near my
Robinson or
team.
OBJ? Hmm.
I'd rather have OBJ
I'd rather have Robinson.
because I know OBJ is at least on a better offense.
That's
So I
fair.
would
That is fair.
that's how I on something like that, I want the guy on the better offense and who has a better chance of, doing well.
This
And
is a good offense. If you look at it holistically, minus the
it
quarterback and the
can
offensive
be.
coordinator, it's a very good group, right? Diontae Johnson is a good player. He's not really a touchdown type of guy, especially with Kenny Pickett. I don't think that's really going to change too much personally. George Pickens, everyone is kind of talking about, oh, he's just a big threat kind of big play kind of guy. Does everyone forget he was a rookie last year? Like, he had 84 targets as a rookie. That is not insignificant. I think that this guy is going to have a massive year too. I would not be shocked if he pushes. Diontae Johnson had 147 targets last year. George Pickens had 84. I would not be shocked if it was closer to like 120 to 110 this year,
Right. Yeah, and I could see that, but I also think Diontae Johnson is the number one in that offense. I like Pickens, but and I feel Pickens has been overvalued this offseason. Everybody thinks he's going to be the next great Steeler wide receiver, and I think he has the potential to be really good. It's not anything like that, but I think he's just being really overvalued in a lot of leagues.
We will see. I think he has potential. That's all I'm saying. I think he has top 24
absolutely.
wide receiver 2 potential. I don't think he's like a top 5 type of guy, but I think he could definitely make a case to be up there as a wide receiver 2 for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so that is that. And then the last position we'll talk about here quickly is, do we agree though that Allen Robinson's the third guy in this offense? There's nobody else you'd rather have over him. Calvin Austin, Miles Boykin, Hakeem Butler.
Yeah, I don't believe in any of those other guys. All of those guys are gross. Like I mean, at least Allen Robinson's done something in his career. So
right, yeah, I'm with you. All right, and then we'll quickly wrap up the tight ends. Pat Freiermuth is definitely the number one you want in this offense. Darnell Washington, we love him, but he is the 6th offensive lineman for a reason. So maybe he's going to be, best ball. Maybe go get Darnell Washington. I think a tight end that big and athletic, he could have some major red zone implications, around the goal. But I don't think that there's really any value other than that. Do you agree?
I agree, and it's really unfortunate that he went to a place that already has an established tight end.
I know.
It does suck for him. So I think he can be he has very good potential, but I think Pat Freiermuth is the guy in that offense. So
yeah, I'm with you. So Pat Freiermuth, do we still have him as a top 12 type of tight end?
Absolutely.
All right.
There's with the tight ends, it's with the tight end land scheme being as murky as it is. He's been a guy the past couple of years that's been very solid, and I don't really think Washington's going to take a lot of targets away from him.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think Washington might have, like, when they get to the red zone, maybe has like 3 targets a game, all in the red zone. That's pretty much it. So you're going to see games where he might have 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 3 yards or something. You know what I mean? Like, very possible to have those kinds of seasons. So, all right. Any last thoughts here? Run a little bit over on this one, but that said, thank you guys for joining us on this one. Again, if you are listening to the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Tell the podcast to one of your friends. We're just trying to grow it all off season. If we haven't hit up your team yet, make sure you come back and check it out. Check out all the other team videos as well. If you like this, leave us some thoughts down below. Just leave us any changes or anything else you'd like to see on the podcast. We always love feedback from you guys. So that said, until next time, thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good night.